chucklenuts!
You stupid!
Now, as someone that has the IQ of a genius, I'm going to be talking about every single throwables that Payday 3 has to offer. Now, before we get into this, do not expect me to be very philosophical about this, nor be very nerdy. Nerdy as I mean, well, the grenade has approximately 5.5 million. Do not expect me to be that way, alright? I'm just gonna say explosion radius is big or duration is small. That's it. Do not expect me to be very precise, nor whip out any sort of documents of, like, the exact damage or the exact radius and the exact sphere of the explosion radius, alright? We're going bare minimum with this shit, but regardless, let's get into it.
Oh, damn.
Throwing knives are a very confusing throwable in Payday 3 because they're both useful and as well as useless. Useless because once you miss an enemy with a throwing knife, it is completely gone and lost forever. But on stealth, it is completely the opposite. It's more of a distraction tool, but I will get into that in a little bit. Excuse me. So, the throwing knife has the capability of insta-killing light and as well as heavy units, but it does not have the capability of insta-killing bulldozers and as well as shields. Do not even try to use this against shields nor any bulldozers because they will look at you and be confused and ask you, why the fuck are you constantly throwing this at me? Because this is literally just a waste of time. So, the only time you should really be using the throwing knife is A, if you don't have enough time to reload, or B, if you don't have enough time to switch to your different weapon. So that's pretty much all I can say. The way I can describe the throwing knife is just pretty self-explanatory. It's an emergency weapon. It's not meant to be used as an actual weapon, but more of an emergency. If you're in a situation where you don't have enough ammo to kill like 1 or 2 enemies, or you don't have time to reload, then that's where the throwing knife essentially comes in. And if you're low on ammo, or you don't have no ammo at all, then that's where the throwing knife also comes in, as long as you have retriever and as well as ricochet, because without those two together, the throwing knife is just practically useless on loud, because once you miss, it is gone and lost forever, so you might as well have some way to retrieve it. And yeah, the amount of times it takes to kill a shield with the throwing knife, it takes approximately 3 hits, even with edge and as well as face to face. But when it comes to bulldozers, if I am not mistaken, I think it takes like approximately 20 hits on the body in order to kill one. I didn't try to like hit it on the faceplate, but let's be honest, who even tries to hit a bulldozer in the faceplate with a throwing knife, for God's sakes? Like, please, don't even try to do it, for God's sakes. The throwing knife is very fast when it comes to like spamming it. You could actually clear down a hallway very fast, but it's not like fast as in like shotguns or rifles and whatnot. It does have a very fast kill rate, but considering the fact there's a bit of a delay before you could actually throw it, and there's a high possibility they will try to dodge it, you'll more or less like try to miss it. When it comes to without skills, the throwing knife is useless on loud, but when it comes to skills, it is actually very effective, being able to insta-kill light and heavy units. But what about stealth? For stealthing purposes, it's more or less just a distraction tool, because if you throw a knife right next to a guard, they will try to investigate the place where you threw the knife at. However, if you have retriever, that's where the problem comes in, because they will initiate a search. So yeah, be careful of that one. Grabbing something like extra munitions and as well as fraggle thrower is also pretty good for the throwing knife if you don't plan on having retriever. Why wouldn't you have this when you're playing this on loud? But for stealth, do not grab retriever and instead grab fraggle thrower and as well as extra munitions so you can constantly distract the guards. If I had to give out an overall rating for this little piece of shit, it would definitely be a 7 out of 10 or a high C tier. It's not the best, but it will definitely help you out when the time comes.
Very.
When it comes to smoke grenades in Payday 3, I think that they are probably one of the worst throwables in Payday 3, even with the skills. Even with Death Knell, Assassin's Medal, Threat Assessment, yada yada, all the strategic skill. And why do I think of this? For one simple reason. Zap grenades and flashbangs exist. That's it. Why mess up an enemy's damage or mess up their accuracy when something like flashbangs completely stop them? The only time I can really see the flashbang being used, or pardon me, the only time I can really see the smoke grenade being used is against bulldozers, or be used for objectives. For something like fixing the drill, replacing the oxygen for the thermal drill, or picking up a lock. Something. If there's an objective that requires a lot of time for you to spend there, then that I guess it's good. And maybe against cloakers for slowing them down, because for some of you that don't know, the enemies that are inside the smoke, they will have their accuracy and as well as their movement speed be significantly reduced. And on one hand that might sound nice, but keep in mind that flashbangs exist. And sure, smoke grenades have a very larger radius, but why use smoke grenades when flashbangs exist? I don't really see the purpose of smoke grenades being used other than messing up a bulldozer's accuracy. But why grab a smoke grenade when Hardy exists? So there's really no point of running a smoke grenade when flashbangs and zap grenades exist. But you could say, well, what about death knell? Yes, I know that shit exists, but considering the fact that you could literally allow 90% of weapons to be one-shotted with these skills right here, and combine it with death knell, I don't really see the purpose of running a smoke grenade. Here's the thing, I'm not saying that smoke grenade is completely useless, it does have its few uses here and there. If you combine with almost every single strategic skill in the game, and as well as grab this compilation, then you're looking at something that is able to reduce the enemy's damage by like roughly around 60 to 70%. Somewhere around there, close enough, but it's not like the precise number, but it's like somewhere around there. But yeah, I don't really see a use of the smoke grenade other than messing up a bulldozer's aim and as well as providing cover for your teammates. That's pretty much it. That's all I can practically think of. It's a 6 out of 10 or a C tier. It's not exactly a really good throwable when flashbangs and zap grenades essentially exist. If you can cook it, sure, it might be higher, but you cannot. Do not even try to use this. But here's the thing, use whatever you want. I'm not saying like, stay the fuck away from this. I'm just saying like, it's not good. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that the smoke grenade is completely useless when you're not using any sort of skills. Because, sure, you can reduce their movement speed and as well as provide some sort of cover, but why would you do that when the flashbangs can literally stop them entirely? Do not bother use the smoke grenade if you're not planning on bringing any skills related to throwables. Even with skills, like, it's not really that particularly good. Like, it's a throwable that really relies on skills, and it requires you to invest into a lot of skills. Meanwhile, flashbangs require you to only spend in like 2 skills, and that's pretty much it to make it 10 times effective. But with the smoke, you need like 5-10 points to make it effective, so don't even use it. The zap grenade is a very confusing one because it is somewhat better than the flashbang and it is also somewhat worse than the flashbang. Let's talk about the good side of the zap grenade. For one, it is able to spread through other enemies if they're nearby. Example being, if there's one enemy that is affected by it and another one comes close to the one that is being zapped, then they will also get zapped as well, and it will also spread to other enemies that are being affected by it. 2. You are able to insta-kill shields, techies, and as well as zappers. This is pretty good if you don't have weapons that is able to pierce through a shield's visor, nor if you're too lazy or you have aim that is literally just absolute garbage. So having some piece of utility that is able to help you with killing shields instantly is not particularly bad. And another thing to mention is it has a much more shorter fuse time, meaning it is able to detonate much more quicker, and it is also able to be cooked, unlike the flashbang where it cannot be cooked, which is kind of weird, but I'm not really going to question the design flaws of it, so, you know, I'm not going to question it. Anyway, well, let's talk about the bad side. Holy shit, the 2 bad sides are literally what makes me hate this. And yes, I absolutely despise this grenade because it literally makes everything worse than it actually helps. Fight me. The flashbang is better. Shut up. So, let's talk about the 3 bad things. I thought there was 2, but now I realize there's a 3rd. The first biggest problem of the zap grenade is the fact that it has a very tiny explosion radius, even with skills. And when I mean tiny, I mean tiny. You are not catching people's shit with this. If there are enemies that are like more widened out or spread out, then you're not going to be catching shit with this. But it is also very effective on enemies that are grouped up, but let's be honest, the flashbang also does that better, come on. 2, it has a very short stun duration, and I mean very short duration. The way the zap grenade essentially works is it sends out the 3 shock waves, well not exactly shock waves, but it zaps 3 times, and that's pretty much it, and the stunning lasts like, what, 1 second or something? Or 1.5 seconds, I don't fucking know. There's a bit of a delay before each and every zap, so I guess the total stun around is like, what, 3-4 seconds? Meanwhile, the flashbang's like 5 or 6 seconds without any skills, so again, it's better. But then again, and number 3, you're able to zap yourself. Unlike the flashbang, you cannot blind yourself, even if you throw it literally at your feet with overcooked, but with the zap grenade, you're literally able to zap yourself. There's been so many situations where I want to go through a door and fight multiple enemies, but considering the fact that I will get my ass zapped, then that will just pretty much prevent me from even getting close to them to begin with. Here's the way I see the flashbang or the zap grenade. The zap grenade is just basically better when not used with any skills, unless you're only planning on bringing in Scrounger. Meanwhile, the flashbang is absolutely amazing when you bring in skills like Expose, Coup de Grace, Death Knell, and as well as Threat Assessment and yada yada yada, all the strategic skill and whatever. And you might say, well, the zap grenade also works with these skills, so what's wrong with that? Well, considering the fact that the stun duration of the zaps is very short, Expose is not going to do much shit. And I mean it. And consider the fact that the flashbang has a fucking hefty radius and as well as a very long stun duration, you're better off just use the flashbang with Expose and well and whatnot. And even, I'm not saying like the zap grenade is bad. The way I see it is just basically, if you don't want to invest too much skills on throwables, then the zap grenade is your choice. But when it comes to investing skills in throwables like Expose, Coup de Grace, Top Up, and whatnot, then the flashbang is literally the king. Because having the ability to one-shot enemies for a long period is significantly better than that of the zap grenade. So yeah, I don't think much needs to be said other than do not really use zap grenades with skills because it's not really that effective. It's a definite 7 out of 10 or a very low B tier.
Think fast, chucklenuts!
The flashbangs are the second best throwables in Payday 3, or at least in my opinion, and I have a very good reason for it. For one, it has a much more bigger radius and as well as a longer stun duration than that of the zap grenade, but the only complaint I can really say about the flashbang is that it has a longer fuse time than that of the zap grenade, and you cannot cook it, which is the unfortunate part. However, if you combine the flashbang with these skills that I mentioned previously, then you're looking at something that is able to give you consistent one-shots. And I mean that literally. You could grab a Glock and be able to literally one-shot every single enemy. Combine that with Assassin's Medal and as well as Death Knell, you got something that is able to give you free health. Remember the smoke grenade that was supposed to be good with Death Knell and as well as Assassin's Medal? Yeah, the flashbang already does that, but 10 times better, so who fucking cares about that one? So, anyway. Anyway, so the flashbang is just literally just a one-shotting machine for you, essentially. Is it any good than the grenade? No. But it is certainly an effective tool when it comes to instantly killing enemies or being able to instantly stun lock enemies. The good thing about the flashbang is that you are not affected by it, which I'm not entirely sure if it's an intended feature or if it's an actual bug. But if it is a bug, abuse that shit while you can, because holy shit, the amount of times I've been constantly throwing the flashbang on my feet is absolutely enormous. Like, it is too much. Like, I've been doing that since the day I found out that Overcooked works with flashbangs, and that was since like day 1 of Payday 3, and that was fun. I say I have fun with the flashbang to this day, but you get what I'm saying. But no, the flashbang is very good. There's really not much else to really say other than it's an effective tool that is able to blind a lot of enemies. If you're playing on an open map, or even on closed maps, this is where the flashbang really shines because of its horrendous range. When I mean horrendous, and I mean absurdly large, it's like, what, 5-7 meters big type of radius. You are able to literally blind a lot of enemies. Even when shields try to block your flashbang, here's the thing, a little trivia. When you throw a flashbang at a shield, they will try to block it, but they will always be stunned by it, which is the funny part. So, one thing you can do is intentionally throw a flashbang behind the shield, make them have their backs turned against you, and allows you to instantly shoot them, which is funny. So, yeah. So, without skills, it is absolutely amazing, and even with skills, it is still amazing, but 10 times better. So, it's a definite 9 out of 10, or a A tier. The only complaint I can say is the longer fuse time, and as well as not being able to cook the grenade. So, that's pretty much all I can say.
People, a lot of bloody bombs. Perfect.
Now, we are probably going into, by far, one of the best grenade in the existence of Payday 3. That being the good old Frag Grenade. It's a simple grenade that when you toss it, shit go kaboom. It's that very simple. Throw, go kaboom, that's pretty much it. If you want to challenge your inner Black Scottish Cyclops from the hit game Team Fortress the 5th, then go for it. It's your go. The good thing about the frag grenade is the fact that you are able to literally cook the damn thing and throw it at the last second, giving no one enough time to run the fuck away. The thing about the grenade is, even when there's survivors, I mean those who are able to survive the blast radius, they will have such low health that even if you shoot them in the foot, they will just instantly die off from it. So, even without skills, the frag grenade is literally the best when it comes to clearing out whole hordes of enemies, and I mean a lot. And if you grab replenish, then that shit is going to give you so much ammo back. And if you combine scrounger, then there's a higher chance you're able to get your grenades back without any problems whatsoever. If you need something that is quote-unquote a room service device, then the grenade is perfectly for you. But it does not really work with death knells, but who really cares when they're already dead? So why mark them when they're already dead? So yeah. Even with skills, holy shit, the frag grenade is the most fun in Payday 3 when you combine it with Overcooked and as well as Blast Shield and Enforcer Basic. Like, if you combine these two together, you'll have a free room cleaning service and 0 damage. It's like, if there's whole groups of enemies in a single corridor or in a single room, you can literally just intentionally run up to them, toss a grenade, and just keep continuously doing it until they're all dead. However, the only complaint I can say about the grenade is the fact that the explosion radius is so damn big that if you have the blast shield skill, you're going to be losing grit a lot. But considering the fact that this skill also exists, I don't think it practically matters at this point, so who fucking cares? So, anyway. When it comes to shields and everything else, it doesn't really matter. Like, it just practically just deletes them, honestly. Like, even when they do see you, like, throw the grenade at them, they will try to run away or hide behind cover. They're not going to be able to run away quick in time if you cook it. The only thing I can say is, do not throw the grenade instantly. Do not. Because they will see that shit and run away. Or they will hide behind cover or behind a shield. And if a shield sees you throw that grenade uncooked, they will block that shit and take less damage and protect anyone that is behind them. So, be careful of that one. Always cook the grenade, even if there's like 2 enemies in there, so yeah. It's a definite S tier. It's a perfect throwable that is able to help you in practically almost every single scenario you can think of. Even if there's enemies that are like widened up or trying to spread out, it's amazing. It's practically good on almost every single heist, but 10 times better if it's a close range map like Dirty Ice. Like I said, Dirty Eyes, Under the Surface, Touch the Sky, Syntax Error, yada yada yada, even Cook-Off. This shit does not fuck around. So, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. If I didn't mention... Oh yeah, and do not use this against bulldozers, because they will make fun of you for it, so, yeah.
Oh my god, young man. Kill yourself!
That's all I can pretty much say. If you enjoyed this video, I don't know, something, drink water, keep yourself hydrated, I don't know. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to go and move out in a little bit. So, yeah. I'll see you people next time. Adios. Take care of yourselves.